Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I'm looking at some Dynasty sells. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first player, Jameson Williams. And with Jameson Williams, and this is something I talk about on the Patreon a lot, we have to separate real life from fantasy football. Jameson Williams is a good real life receiver. They paid him. I do think he adds a lot of value to the Lions. But we have to understand that in the fantasy football game we play, Dynasty Fantasy Football, which is almost always PPR, Jameson Williams is not ever going to be a league-winning receiver. He's just not. You can't be on 31 catches, 562 yards, 5 touchdowns, 50 targets, 3.1 catches, and 56.2 yards a game. You can't on 3.1 catches a game and 5 targets a game. It's not possible. You're not going to be a league winner. You're not even going to be a top 15 wide receiver on that type of volume. It's not possible. He's averaging 11.8 PPR points a game, 37th among wide receivers. Now, I don't think Jameson Williams is as bad as what we saw at the beginning of the year. I honestly think these numbers are about right. Maybe a little low, but the low target volume remains. He's averaging just 5 targets a game. He only averaged a bit over 6 targets a game last year. So it's not like last year he had 9 targets a game and this is a down year. No, last year I think most people would say was a pretty good version of Jameson Williams. And there was still minimal volume. There just was. He's never had more than 8 targets any game this year. He did that just once. No double-digit target games, no target eruptions, nothing. And you have a sell window now. He's averaged 4.7 catches, 91 yards, 6.7 targets with 3 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks. Obviously, you're not going to average a touchdown a game. That's not possible for almost any wide receiver, let alone one on this target volume. You're not going to average 91 yards on 4.7 catches or 6.7 targets. That's not going to maintain itself either. We know that even for the best and most efficient wide receivers, that type of efficiency does not last. And with Sam Laporta out, I think also that opens up a little bit of a sell window. I do think, Williams' production might be a little bit higher right now. So he might be a little bit more of an appealing sell. But at the end of the day, Jameson Williams is a nice player, good player, someone I'm happy to have on my Dynasty team, but isn't a cornerstone asset. He's not a super valuable asset. He never will be. He cannot be. He has never been that. And we don't see wide receivers in year 5 suddenly becoming something that they weren't. He's going to be here. He's going to be on this team. It's not going to change. So if it's not going to change, then I saw many deals there were versions, some where you had to add, some with a little plus for a 26 or 27 first. That would be probably the most logical thing you could do. The second thing I saw, which I thought was interesting, was sell Jameson Williams for Garrett Wilson. So this is something I talk about on the Patreon a lot. One of the things we chase is target earners. Garrett Wilson consistently excelled in that area. Now, I have a lot of concerns with Garrett Wilson, but it goes to show that I do have concerns, but players can be buys at a good price. This is a good price. Even if I'm maybe not that excited about buying Garrett Wilson, I would certainly rather have Garrett Wilson in Dynasty over Jameson Williams. So it's all about adding value to your Dynasty team, something I talk about the Patreon, and this would be a good example of that. Now, the next player, and this is just someone I've just never believed in. I don't want to say never, but not recently believed in Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, to me, is fine. I'm not even going to say he's good. He's fine. He's fine, passable. He's okay. This year, if you just looked at the raw stats, you were very misled with Travis Etienne. There were a few long runs that pumped up his yards per carry, But on your average run, he wasn't good. He is not getting more volume, 15.4 carries a game, 729 total yards. It's fine. 5 touchdowns is okay. Hasn't been super effective in the goal line area. And 21 catches, 130 yards in 10 games is not good. That's not what we want to see. That's, in the Derrick Henry area of receiving production, 130 yards in 10 games is nothing. So he's averaging 14.3 PPR points a game, 16th among running backs. So you might say, well, that sounds good, right? That sounds good. But you're paying for pass production here. You're paying. I said on the Patreon when Travis Etienne was worthless in rookie season to go buy him. You could have had him for nothing. Buying him now would be paying for pass production. I'm no longer interested in him now. This is why we buy low and sell high. And everything is bad right now for Travis Etienne. He lost the job. If you were actually paying attention to last week, I talked about this on Monday's video. I talked about it on the Patreon. I'm talking about it again. He lost the job. Basal Tuden was working ahead of him before he got hurt. Tuden got hurt, and then Etienne comes in and scores 2 touchdowns. If you just look at the box score, it looks like, well, Travis Etienne is great. Everything is great. Everything is not great. He lost the job. So it's not good. And then another problem with Travis Etienne. Now, a second problem. I don't want to hear about a second problem. He's failing to get involved as a receiver. I talked about this earlier. These are career lows, 2.1 catches and 13 yards a game. An abysmal 3.9 yards at target. That is abysmal. That's a joke. You can blame some of it on Trevor Lawrence, but some of it is on Travis Etienne. He just hasn't done a very good job in the passing game. So he hasn't been effective in that area. So if he hasn't been effective in that area, and he's kind of slowing down as a runner, let's talk about Dynasty. He's a free agent next year. Now, is a team going to pay Travis Etienne? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that he's going to have to settle for some sort of one-year deal. We saw last year teams declined to pay every single running back. No running back in free agency last year was paid at all, really. And this year, Travis Etienne is not the best free agent running back. That's Breece Hall. And I just don't know who is lining up to pay Travis Etienne. So for those reasons, I just think he's fine. He has a value. I mean, I might be interested in buying him again next year if his value is cratered. But for now, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in Travis Etienne. I think his value is going to continue to decline. I think Basal Tuden is going to get more involved. I think Travis Etienne, the value is going to go down and down and down. So I think 2 seconds would be a good way to get out. I think we're way past getting a first for Travis Etienne. I think that's out of the question. Maybe you could combine Travis Etienne a second to get someone like Zay Flowers. Again, this is another thing. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Zay Flowers. If you were a patron, you'd know I actually don't really like Zay Flowers. But sometimes you have to go to a player you don't like, even if they're more, because they're more valuable. Because I do know that in the offseason, there is going to be value for Zay Flowers. He is not old. He is a talented wide receiver. The value of Travis Etienne could be nothing. So I guess I would make this deal, even if it's not my favorite. Sometimes beggars can't be choosers. And I would prefer to have Zay Flowers in Dynasty over this package. So I would look to move Travis Etienne. I'd look to do it now before people realize that Basal Tuden might be the starter, because he was last week. So speaking of the Patreon, I talked about it earlier in the video, and it's the main place where I do all of my Dynasty takes. So if you like my YouTube content, the YouTube content I think is a very good preview or a small slice of what I'm offering on the Patreon. Now, there's a new discount code because Patreon requires to reset these codes every 6 months. So we had the old code, Tyler YT50. I think it's still active for a couple of days. We have a new code, Tyler50. Type code Tyler50 in at checkout, and you get 50% off your first month of the Patreon. But I just want to stop down and pay attention to this because this is a new code. This will be the code moving forward for the next 6 months. So just keep that in mind. it'll work the same way as the old code did. Now, you can get all my rankings on there, including weekly start sit, access to Discord, my write-ups where I talk about every single game, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $6 a month, $3 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos. And again, I really appreciate everyone who's signed up. I appreciate everyone who has been supporting the Patreon. I know it's getting toward the end of the season. I know this is a difficult time of year, but I provide year-round content. I'm helpful year-round, and I really would love to see more people sign up. And, you know, that's what keeps the YouTube going. I mean, it's hard to do and justify the YouTube content if it's not bringing in new patrons. Now, that hasn't been an issue, but you know, it's hard during, this is a very lean time of the year for new paid subscribers to this type of content. So, you know, I really appreciate everyone who supports. And yeah, you guys have been a great audience. And I just appreciate all of you for being there, and especially those who sign up for the Patreon. With that said, I'll move into my next player. Okay, so Jake Ferguson is my final Dynasty sell. And this is a topic I have talked about on the Patreon so much, about tight ends. With tight ends, you have to make a decision. For wide receivers, targets are earned. They are earned. For tight ends, they are not, for the most part. A few tight ends earn targets. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, those guys, Tyler Warren, those guys earn targets. For guys like Jake Ferguson, they have a role in the offense, but targets are mostly given to them when wide receivers go out. And I think we've seen this season that Jake Ferguson is not a super target earner like Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. He's not even Tucker Kraft or Sam Laporta. Those guys earn a few targets. He's more of a tertiary option. And it just hasn't been as good as I think people think it is. 60 catches, 400 yards, 7 touchdowns, 71 targets, 6 catches, and 40 yards a game. The 40 yards a game is not even a career high for him. But because we play a lot of tight end premium, these 60 catches are really, really good. He just hasn't done much. And he's certainly 60 catches for 400 yards is not saying, well, we should target Ferguson more. That's not really what I would say on that kind of efficiency. The 7 touchdowns, hard to repeat that. That's a high number for the number of targets and catches and yards he has. But because he has all of those touchdowns, he's averaging 14 PPR points per game. Okay. So sorry about that. There's some tech issues. So, oh boy. Okay. So Ferguson has done really well for fantasy, but I think we have to look a little bit deeper into his situation. So he was a lot better with CeeDee Lamb out. He averaged 7.5 catches, 51 yards, and 8.3 targets with 4 touchdowns in the 4 games Lamb missed or mostly missed. But he's only averaged 4 catches, 23 yards, and 5 targets per game the last 4 weeks after Lamb came back. But he does have 3 touchdowns, which is kind of keeping him afloat. So again, he is a valuable part of the Cowboys. He's important to their team. But I would not say that he's a target earner or a high-end fantasy tight end. Really, this is something I talk about on the Patreon a lot. We have to look deeper than raw numbers for tight ends. They do not tell you the full story. So to sell Jake Ferguson, one way that you could do that would be to sell him for Sam Laporta. Laporta, to me, he might miss the rest of the season, but I do like Laporta long-term significantly better than Ferguson. I think we've seen a lot more talent from Laporta. And I do think Laporta can compete for targets against strong wide receivers, whereas I don't think Jake Ferguson is really going to do that against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And then there are still some universes in which you can get a 26 first for Jake Ferguson in tight end premium, and I would do that. So again, Jake Ferguson is strong dynasty sell for me. So we'll do the Patreon questions and then I'll wrap up the show. Which starting quarterbacks do you expect to lose their jobs going into 2026? Geno Smith, obviously. Aaron Rodgers might retire. Michael Penix, the job now is vulnerable. JJ McCarthy, I'm a little nervous, but like the other starters to talk about losing their job would be guys who are not really starters, like Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, obviously. What do you think of Cam Ward's dynasty value? How high do you think he can go? Okay, so I feel like Cam Ward has been screwed. I feel like unlike JJ McCarthy, who was put into a great situation, great head coach, great weapons, Cam Ward was set up to fail. So is Cam Ward an elite quarterback? I don't think so. I think we would have seen something better by now. But Cam Ward, to me, other than that he's not elite, could still be good. And we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know. I think he could be good, even very good. And he's been screwed. I don't think anyone except an elite rookie, of which there have been, a few, but I don't think anyone thought Cam Ward was that, would be good in this situation. So I might be buying on him, honestly, because I think his value is going to be too low. How can retools or rebuilds who are preparing for the draft prep better other than acquiring more picks? What is there to do? Well, acquiring more picks is what you do. I mean, what else is there to do? I would say acquire more picks, right? I mean, I'm not sure what else. I mean, that would be my main focus. Number one focus, acquiring more picks. Doesn't have to be 2026. I could acquire 2027. But when you say what else, I guess you could trade for injured players who I still believe in, like Malik Neighbors. That could be something you could do, but those are rare situations. I don't want to trade into all injured players. I'm not interested in trading for Michael Penix, for example. So there are some temporarily injured players, like Malik Neighbors, I think is going to be ready for next year. Their injury was early enough in the year. Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is not 2026 injured, right? And there's going to be more of those players as it comes up over the next few weeks. But yeah, acquiring more picks is the main thing to do. And a quick review. I want to say a quick thank you for Tyler for keeping me patient and focused on building a team that's ready for the future. I appreciate that. I'm very good at that. Future building is definitely my area of expertise. What is a common dynasty mistake teams make around this time of season? How can we capitalize that on the betterment of our own teams? Oh, teams get way too aggressive in sending away future picks for meh assets this time of year. So if you're selling, you can absolutely capitalize on that. If we've already clinched the number one seed in a buy, is there anything we should do differently? Maybe in that, like, if you've already clinched number one seed, I'm not buying players for taking an eye on this week, right? If you clinch the number one seed, I don't care about this week. I care about week 16. Now that depends if you have a trade deadline or no trade deadline. If you don't have a trade deadline, you have to make purchases in it. Or if you do have a trade deadline, you have to make purchases for the playoffs in advance. If you don't have a trade deadline, you can just wait until the week of the game and then you can make purchases at that time. So that's really what decides whether I would do things differently. But the main thing is I stopped looking at the particular week if the regular season no longer matters for whatever reason. There's also situations where you're like, you say you're the 4 seed, you're not going to have a bye, but you are guaranteed to make the playoffs and the last regular season game or two doesn't matter. That would be another situation where I wouldn't be looking at the current weeks. But I think that's pretty logical. Trey McBride, hold cornerstone asset or sell high in a non-tight end premium league. What's fair value for him if he's a sell? I would not say he's a sell. I mean, he's pretty close to a cornerstone asset in all leagues for me at this stage. Given the Chargers offensive line situation and the resulting offensive struggles, how much do you expect the skill position players, including Hampton, to contribute to contending teams? I'm nervous about the whole Chargers offense. I don't think it's going to be as good as we wanted. I think Hampton will still get a lot of work. I think he'll be good, maybe not what we wanted for the rest of this year. I think you'll be able to trust Ladd and Gadsden because tight end is so weak that it's hard not to play Gadsden. I don't think I'm going to be looking at Justin Herbert as a top 5 quarterback the rest of the way with the offensive line the way it is. I don't think I'm going to be looking at the other Chargers receivers as must-starts either. So that's kind of my take on the Chargers. Now, If you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that new hype button to help the videos in the algorithm. Plus, hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops on the channel. Plus, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty fantasy football content year-round and start sit content in season. There's a 50% discount at all tiers using code Tyler50, new code Tyler50. And that'll be written in the comments and show description below as well. Every sign up helps support my independent content. You can sign up in the top right corner at patreon.com/fantasy advice. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.